The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk in partnership with thechairshot.com, presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network and in association with NDPW.com. Turnbuckle Talk is sponsored by collarandelbowbrand.com, where you get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast. Turnbuckle Talk is also partnered with Phoenix at FNXFit.com, where you get 15% off all your health supplements simply by using promo code TBTalkPod. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TB Talk Pod. Listen on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you catch your favorite programs. And now, pro wrestling fanatics, are you ready? Here are your hosts, Mighty Joe Morin and Karl Karufel.
That's right, everybody. Welcome back. I am Karl Karufel, alongside, as I've called him in the past, the curator of topics. That's just such a cool name, and I'm glad I thought about that in my little pea brain. Welcome, everybody, to Turnbuckle Talk.
Yeah, absolutely, Karl. It's been quite the week coming out of WrestleMania with all the programming and all the shit that we were doing, for lack of a better term. But it's good to kind of get back to somewhat business as usual. Having said that, though, for those of you paying attention, know that it's not 3 p.m. Eastern time right now. It is 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're essentially in prime time. We're just shy of prime time. But to give
prime time, baby.
To give the reasoning why we're doing these shenanigans here at this time, it is because my work situation has changed. Now, due to essentially a workplace injury, I am required to be on modified duties at work, which requires me to be there during the day for the stretch of a few weeks here going into the end of this month. And then afterwards that I may be staying on said day shift. So what that means for Turnbuckle Talk going forward, we're still going to be doing the show, but it's going to be a bit more sporadic. Potentially. So to be forewarned for those of you who do watch the video version of the podcast, that you may not always see it at this day and at this time, just for in full transparency to our listeners and our viewers.
Wah, wah.
Right.
But that's okay, though, because no matter where we go, our listeners and our watchers will follow us, I'm sure. If you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, you're going to want to be able to catch up on it no matter where we are, what time, what's going on. Yeah. So, thank you to everybody that continues to come in and watch and interact. I freaking love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we got quite a bit to cover this week, but before we get to all that, we've heard about what's going on with me. What's been going on for you in this past week since we talked last?
Honestly, not a whole heck of a lot. I mean, just continuous work. That's about it. I go to work, I come home, I eat, I shit, shower, shave, and no shave.
Not necessarily in that order.
And that's really about it, dude. That's it.
For sure, man. And another kind of side note, I guess we can't necessarily forget to mention this. Given where we're located and what was kind of going on today, we're lucky to actually, before we get into that, hello, Kevin. We are beautiful people. At least I like to think so.
No shaving.
But we're actually lucky to actually get today's episode in because for those of you who aren't in Canada, especially, but for those of you maybe outside, well, I guess this pretty well encompasses all of Canada. If you are get your stuff through, if you get your services, your cell phone and internet through Rogers, you likely had some issues. So thankfully, it hasn't affected the home Wi-Fi. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening right now. So
it would be a solo show with yours truly, because I am still on the Shaw Cable Network. There hasn't actually been a it's beard growing season. Damn right. The transition of Shaw being purchased by Rogers Media Group has not fully happened yet.
Wow.
So Shaw is still kind of on its own separate, which is good. So yeah, it would have been a solo show. That's it. Looking at this ugly face,
it would have been what it is. So I imagine you probably could have pulled some of our friends if need be. That's one beauty about doing what we do right now, and just the partnerships and the friendships that we've made through doing this. I mean, we've always got backup, and
100%.
Always been a wonderful thing, and always grateful to those guys. Quick shout out to Michael Jargo, Mr. Ryan K. Bowman, Spencer, Ryan Knight, Mr. Richard Bronson Vickery, all those guys. I mean, pretty much available if we ever needed them. So much appreciation to all those individuals. Yeah. All right, Karl, let's get to the bulk of our conversation for today here. Let us start off with kind of the big hot button topic.
There's the hot button topic right there.
Right. He definitely does. I have never been able to grow facial hair all that well, especially in this kind of area. I don't know if it's just because I'm French. Maybe that's what's going on. But anyways, we're talking WWE releases here, Karl. It seemed like this time last year, pretty much to the day, we're doing this again. And some real notable names for myself. The two big ones that stood out to me right away, Samoa Joe and Mickie James. Those are the two that I was like, what?
Right. 100%. Wesley Blake was another one that stood out for me.
Yeah.
Some of the other names, though, I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, some of them, I get it. The Iconics, I mean, really, as soon as they broke up that team, they really did nothing with them.
Yeah, they didn't do them any favors doing that. Yeah, I think that did them both a disservice, especially with those two splitting them up. I thought that was definitely a mistake. Especially, I was never necessarily a big Billy Kay fan, but I thought Peyton Royce really had a lot of untapped potential. Like, she trains with Tyler Breeze and her husband over. I believe that their gym is somewhere in Canada. I may be mistaken on that, but I always thought that she was really fantastic and a lot of untapped potential. But again, having said all this, we'll pick up go through some of the destinations, some dream scenarios that could possibly become of this. But one thing to make note of it is it does seem, anyways, that most of these people have parted on good ways with the company, and they all seem to have positive words to say. Now, whether that's genuine or not is open to interpretation. But having said that, I think that it's not necessarily a bad time for this to be happening because there are a lot of destinations for a lot of these talents to go, because there's a lot of companies that have risen to the forefront over the last few years.
Definitely, 100%. Kevin, yes, I agree with you. Samoa Joe, probably the biggest name out of all of those. And yes, he's probably going to wait out his 90 days and then do something big from there. Don Lewis popping into the chat. No Facebook user this time, known as Don Lewis coming in. Hello, Don.
For sure.
For those of you that don't know, I like to dabble a little bit in writing. So over the last few years or so, I've done sporadically these little things that I like to call Your View May Differ from Mine. Indulge me, please, for a few moments.
I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to mute myself, and then you have at this, because this is actually good stuff.
I'm going to actually read out the latest Your View May Differ from Mine for you so that you can hear it. This one I call Season of the Release. We've come to that time of year again where the WWE conducts a series of releases of talent, production, backstage, and even management. During this time, the most notable releases are those of superstars. The year 2021 has been no different. Some shocking and surprising names like Samoa Joe, Wesley Blake, and Mickie James top the list. Now, many people have asked and wondered, why have these people been released? To offer up a generic answer, I would say circumstantial. While the release of a talent is always hard for that person, we need to understand that there could be several factors in play. Some of these factors include downsizing due to financials, issues backstage, and even injury susceptibility. While all of these reasonings could be viewed as a legitimate reason, I would like to offer a little bit of a different approach. Allow me to preface this by saying what you see on television weekly and what we actually know are guaranteed to be miles apart. I ask the question, how many of these superstars were happy with their current position inside the company? How many of these superstars were tired? How many of these superstars have been feeling burnt out? What I'm simply alluding to is we don't know how many of these workers asked for their release. It could very well be the majority of these superstars asked to be released and allowed out of their contracts for reasons unknown to us. While we may feel that we are entitled to know what happened and why these and why they were released, let's just remember that there are now people who we have watched and enjoyed that have been released and are now without a job. For some, their time of unemployment may be very short, while for others, it could be a time of trial and tribulation. To that end, I ask and urge you to look deep down inside yourself and question whether or not you really need to know what has happened, or if it should just become more if you should just become more understanding to the situation at hand and hope to one day see them wrestle again while holding on to the memories that they gave us during their time with this company. Thanks for indulging me. I appreciate that.
Here we go. I wanted to make sure you got that out there because there's definitely some good stuff there. But yeah, no, you definitely nailed it with that. One thing that I do want to do here, and then luckily we have some people in our chat because I definitely want to get some takes on these from our friends in our chat here. Is we'll go through a few of the names and just kind of give pure speculation on our point, but educated speculation given the amount of time you and I have been doing this for, right. To kind of go through these names and see where we envision them going. Let's start right at the very top, Samoa Joe. I'll throw this over to you, Karl. Where do you think Samoa Joe goes, and what do you see as the best place for him to go to be best utilized? And you have Samoa freaking Joe. What do you do with him?
Ring of Honor, baby.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Go back to Ring of Honor.
Agreed.
Yeah,
100% agreed. Coming actually up soon on our next on Turnbuckle Rewind. Just a brief little teaser for you. It's going to involve Samoa Joe. That's all I'm going to say. Coming up in 2 weeks, it's going to be something with Samoa Joe on Turnbuckle Rewind. But you'll have to stay tuned to hear about that.
Don is saying Joe, Ring of Honor as well.
Yep. You're talking me to Ring of Honor, or you talking others? That's...
Yeah.
But because I would definitely wouldn't mind working for Ring of Honor as well. But yeah, right. I totally agree. Having said that too, what would be really cool, and I think that this would also require for a lot of the COVID restrictions to kind of be loosened up. Both brothers, yes, thank you, Don. Because I would also love to see Joe compete in the G1 over New Japan. To have like matchups with like Ishii and Shingo and Minoru Suzuki. I mean, I can go on and on. Samoa Joe would be a great matchup for any of those guys over there. To see him have a run through the G1, he didn't have to win. He would just have to go there and just kick some ass. Right. I mean, like I said, like him and Shingo and like him and Ishii, like sign me up. I would definitely be in for that.
Yes.
The other big one that I definitely want to mention, Mickie James. For myself, okay. I'll give my pick. For me, it's a no-brainer for her. It's the NWA.
Yep.
Her Nick is over there. Her husband.
Go be with Nick.
She would be a great addition to that women's roster. Like her versus Thunder Rosa, her versus Serena Deeb. I mean, then that's just two of them. Right. She could really bolster that women's division. Not that it needs a lot of help, but I mean, she would be a fantastic addition because Mickie was always very, very, very underrated as a women's wrestler.
Oh, yes. No, I fully agree with that. I would say NWA is the best way for her to go. Dawn agreeing as well, NWA. Mr. Richard Bronson Vickery, one of my favorite people in this entire world. There is so much more to Samoa Joe's story than we know at this point. It is all going to be about his health and hopefully working with the right doctors. That's very true. For those that might not know, that's kind of why he was in commentary for so long, is because of health issues. So hopefully the right doctors can come into play, and he can be able to get a clearance to be able to get back into that ring to give us some more amazing professional wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. For myself, for the Iconics, this is a little tough, just given with Peyton Royce, because they and because her husband, Sean Spears, is working in North America. If that wasn't the case, because that's kind of the hitch of my plan here, is I'd actually love to see them go over back to their native Australia and do some stuff there, because there are a ton of fantastic promotions in Australia. That's actually a real hotbed of talent. Mr. RBV making a great point. Mickey is a marketing dream, beautiful talent, musical talent, and a mom. Yeah, but can bring her backstage. Absolutely 100% right. RBV on that one. Yeah. She is gotta be on everybody's radar. I guess just a matter who's going to snatch her up. Like I said, money-wise, the NWA may not be the greatest spot, but at this point, I guess it all depends on what her motivations are and whatnot. So, because like I said, dude, I'd love to see like her versus Thunder Rosa. That's a dream matchup for me, anyways.
Definitely. Speaking of the Iconics,
what do you think?
This wasn't a hard one for me. Honestly, I would love to see them go over to Impact. Now, Impact really does not have a women's tag team division, but I feel that both of those women can really do some good work on their own, but still kind of be like a little faction, kind of like we had with like the Beautiful People. Right, we had Velvet Sky, we had Angelina Love, and they were a faction, but they still were able to wrestle separately and do really good things for themselves, each one of them being champion. Right? Good morning, Matthew. Thanks for joining. Yeah, who knows? It could be his morning.
Oh, yeah, because Matthew might just be waking up. That's a fair point.
Yeah, that's true.
But I digress. You were saying, Karl.
Just Impact. I think is a great place for them to be, because they can work as a faction together as well, do separate. So and they can really show what they can do as opposed to being kind of pushed down by the conglomerate.
Yeah, for sure. And just, again, it's morning somewhere. You are absolutely correct. Like, I would imagine probably some of our Love Wrestling friends that are over in Australia, I think it's probably morning on Wednesday. It'd be Tuesday. Probably like Tuesday morning for those guys over there, because they're all wacky and stuff with their time zones down there. Right? Something about being on the other side of the planet, I think maybe has something to do with that.
Maybe.
But yeah, man, some other ones like Wesley Blake, I think probably like a Ring of Honor or an Impact. You notice that Karl and I really haven't give AEWs any of our picks. I have some reasoning behind this here, Karl, that you may or may not agree with. That roster,
throw it out there. Give it to me. Give it
roster
to me.
Over there is freaking huge at this point. It is really bloated, and it's like when I look at social media with a lot of these releases that have been announced, like everybody, like the majority of, especially Marks, are like, oh, AEW. There's enough people over there. It's already watered down. There's really people sitting there doing nothing as it is. You get like people like the Iconics or Blake and these guys that feel like they've been kind of sitting doing nothing. They go over to AEW, they're going to be bitching about the same thing in a month or two.
Yeah, they're going to be just having a match or two on Dark or Dark Elevation, and that's it.
We've already got 3 shows over there.
Yeah.
Right? And there's still people sitting and doing nothing. We've got to be careful here. I know AEW is the buzz kind of promotion that everybody likes to kind of use. Oh, when everybody leaves WWE, they got to go AEW. No, they don't. There are a lot of other great destinations, namely, New Japan is obviously one of my favorite ones right now, because COVID's throwing crap into all this again, which is really, really annoying at this point on many, many fronts. But once things settle down, I think New Japan, especially with the New Japan America, that could really, really, really use some help there. That could really turn into something. I think
Wesley Blake.
I think I hit something there with you on that one.
Wesley Blake.
Yeah.
New Japan America.
Okay, right.
That's exactly where I would love to see him go.
Yeah. And just change up that commentary team over there. I don't know if because I haven't watched the Strong program in quite a while. Because I did watch a few episodes, but that commentary was like cringe-worthy at very best. So it's one of those things where you need that complete package to really have a good wrestling program. And with something like that is like, it just like punches you in the face of just how kind of mediocre, I guess I'm trying to be the nicest way I can kind of put it. Just the whole thing kind of falls apart, right? When you don't have somebody that can call the action properly, as great as it might actually be happening in the ring, when you don't have the voice there to kind of accentuate what's going on, it falls flat.
Hey, the commentary shit. Get new people.
There you go. About the easiest way that we could kind of put it.
Right?
So, yeah, for sure. So, to just kind of reiterate the point here, just because these people have been let go by the WWE doesn't mean that's over for them, because there are that percentage of people they're like, oh, well, they got released from the WWE, so now they don't mean shit. That is not the case. But again, it also hinges on where these people feel they are in their wrestling career. Some of them may, feel like they made their money and will just kind of just fade off into the sunset. Those who really like practicing the professional wrestling craft are going to want to go and flex that muscle somewhere else.
And the best place for the majority of them is going to be Impact, Ring of Honor, or the NWA.
You nailed it, brother.
It is.
So, as we mentioned here, Karl, WrestleMania week, I guess we can call it now, was pretty exhausting. There's a ton of freaking wrestling to watch here.
Right.
Coming out of WrestleMania, I just wanted to kind of pose a question to each of us here, maybe even to some of our viewers here, of whether, after WrestleMania, have you gone into, have you stayed with the WWE programming, or have you kind of gravitated to other places? I'll pose the question to you here, Karl. Coming out of WrestleMania, do you feel like you kind of feel good about the WWE product and you've gotten to watch it, or have you been exploring some other things outside of it?
I will answer that question momentarily.
Gotcha.
Our friend RBV says we do need to recognize the individuals might have other talents and passions they want to move towards.
That's a good point.
Why? Or what is important is they stay focused and they find a new drive and happiness. That's kind of what I was alluding to a little bit as well in my your view may differ from mine, is that you don't know how many of these people asked for their release for whatever reason it might be. It could be that they want to go and pursue a new, different passion.
Yeah.
And let's let them, because,
that's definitely a fair statement.
Mickey James, we talk about Mickey James. Mickey James went and did that. She went and did country music. She was fantastic. She went and did a passion. And then she came back to professional wrestling. Right?
Yeah.
Matthew saying, I've never seen New Japan Wrestling ever. Last week, I watched AEW for the first time, and I thought it was good. Was happy to see JR as a commentator. I remember him and Lawler in my childhood. Yes, Matthew is just kind of getting back into the professional wrestling watching. Yes. So I don't know if he's actually seen anything from WrestleMania and going forward, but he was messaging me on Wednesday talking about AEW and that he was actually enjoying it. Don saying New Japan and AEW and OVW is where he has been after Mania. I will be 100% honest with everybody. I have not watched any WWE programming with the exception of the Broken Skull session with Chris Jericho.
Fantastic.
That's the only WWE product that I have watched. I can't say that. If you guys listen to our other podcast as well, we did go through and watch a fantastic match between Jake the Snake Roberts and Million Dollar Man. That was,
brief,
that was that. But
brief mention, because we have Mr. Vickery in our chat here today. If you guys go and watch or listen, the most recent episode of the Hitting the Marks podcast, you have actually been treated to actually an entire episode of the Hitting Marks Pro Wrestling podcast, because that is all they talked about on the most recent episode. And they end up talking about the interview with Jericho and Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that is the key right there. We saw an interview between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Chris Jericho, not the alter egos. But they did somehow manage to kind of do some of both, which really kind of made it work, that they stayed in character, but they still managed to kind of be kind of themselves too at the same time. It was really something. For those who have not watched that interview, if you have the WWE Network, just do yourself I'm actually telling people to go watch something on the WWE Network,
Right.
to go check it out. It is definitely worth the watch. Highly entertaining. To me, that actually was better than a lot of the WrestleMania stuff.
And they continued it on Chris Jericho's podcast.
I did hear that, yeah.
So go and make sure that you listen to the latest Chris Jericho podcast
after you listen
with
to us.
Stone Cold Steve Austin as well.
Yeah.
Yes, after you've listened to or watched the Broken Skull sessions, then they continue the conversation essentially over on the Chris Jericho podcast.
For sure.
So, I mean, it was great to watch that, as well as it was amazing to listen to the Jericho podcast as well. My cousin Matthew saying that he's just getting back into it and he has no idea what's going on inside the WWE right now.
Neither do we.
I continue to watch the product and I still
don't know what's going on.
what's going on. Don saying that it was great to watch the Broken Skull session. Yes, absolutely. It was. I mean, I guess... Did I kind of answer that question? Yeah,
for sure. We did, and we hit some other stuff too, which is good. To hit back on RBV's point here, though, because there are some people that may have, some of these people spend a fair amount of time in the WWE, and they may have become kind of jaded or disenfranchised just about professional wrestling in general, and they might be like, you know what? I have a backup plan, whether I have some kind of doctorate, other education, which some of these people have explored. They'll be like, you know what? I'm done with professional wrestling. This has turned me off of that. I am going to go do something else. That is an entirely other possibility that a lot of people aren't even considering.
And that's honestly life. I have a friend of mine who has gotten into corrections, but was kind of like, I don't know what happens. And I told this friend, I said, listen, take PSW course. Yeah. Because the world is hurting for personal support workers right now. I said, if you've got personal support worker on your resume saying that you've been through schooling for that, and something happens with your corrections job, you've got a fallback. Yeah. And it's something, right? This person was actually looking at a few different things, and we kind of talked it all out and whittled it down to PSW work for this person. But yeah, I mean, like, everybody's got to have that backup of something. And how do we know? We don't know if these superstars have their backup too.
For sure. I mean, even our friend Jazzy, friend of the show Jazzy, she got into some security work even during a bit of a lull too, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to, I mean, even just outside of professionals, I think anybody out there should have some type of backup or some other plan to kind of fall back on, in case of what you're doing, the bottom just completely falls out on. Right. Especially going on right now. I mean, a lot of small business owners have probably had to pivot to something completely different than maybe they wanted to because they had to close up shop, right? So you have to have that ability in life to kind of pivot if you need to. In my personal life, I've had to do it plenty of times, more times than I would have liked to have, because you never know, like you said, what life can kind of throw at you, and then you got to make a change, right? So in this case, everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. We don't know all the inside details, where they wanted to go, or maybe they were just kind of blindsided. Who knows, right? So
we have no clue.
But just obviously, we hope everybody lands on their feet, regardless of what they want to do, whether they want to continue professional wrestling or explore some other passion project or what have you.
That's exactly it.
Right?
Yes.
All right, man. Well, I guess before... Actually, you know what? We're sitting there about the right time. Let us hear from our friends over at collarandelbowbrand.com, and we will come back with some breaking news in our Match of the Week segment.
Fall is in the air. That means...
Wait a second. That's not the one I wanted. This is the one we wanted.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. the wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
The dictionary defines hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Being a hero in life is far more than words printed on a page. It takes an unwavering code, a compass that points true north always. And in times like these, it takes sacrifice. Hero shouldn't be a word defined by a dictionary. It's a word that should be defined by the best of us. Hero has a new definition.
All right, guys, Mighty Joe and Karl back here on Turnbuckle Talk, as you heard from our friend Al Snow. If you go to collarandelbowbrand.com and use our promo code JKPodcast at the checkout, you will get 10% off your entire order there. And the reason why I hit the wrong commercial is I just saw the picture of Al Snow's face, and I clicked on it, and I realized I forgot that we actually have two of them there, so I clicked on the wrong one. So my fault, but we got to hear from him kind of twice there, which with Al Snow, it's really never a bad thing. So
And it's fantastic. Thank you, Al Snow. And thank you to the entire team over at Collar and Elbow Brand. They don't have to allow us to use those during our broadcast, but they do. And we're so happy and so thankful that they allow us to use them because, well, we want to make sure that you guys hear it right from Al Snow, right from his mouth about Collar and Elbow Brand. It's amazing stuff. I'm wearing, of course, my Collar and Elbow Brand hat like I always do. I'm wearing the Collar and Elbow Brand mirror t-shirt today. Go over there, collarandelbowbrand.com. Use that promo code because not only are you going to save 10% off, no matter if it's new or clearanced, okay? New or clearanced, but every time you make a purchase, it also helps this podcast and videocast as well. We get a little bit of a kickback. So we appreciate everybody that goes and checks out collarandelbowbrand.com and uses that promo code JKPodcast.
Yeah, man, absolutely. All right, let us get to our breaking news segment. All right, man, breaking news segment. I got bupkis on this here, Karl. I'm hoping that you got some breaking news to cover because I got nothing.
There's really not a whole lot that really hasn't been put out there as of yet, but I will say that John Cena's in Canada. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
John Cena is in Vancouver shooting Fast 9. Paparazzi caught up with him and his new wife of 6 months, I believe now, just out for a walk in the beautiful Vancouver weather while he was away from filming Fast 9, which is really cool.
You have 9 of those friggin' movies, eh? Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
There really isn't a whole lot here. I mean, we can look at like a top AEW duo would reject a Hall of Fame induction.
Who's that?
So we're talking the Young Bucks took to Twitter and said we'd never accept a Hall of Fame induction. Blah blah blah. I mean, you guys haven't even done anything with the WWE to be notable.
Yeah, they're not Hall of Fame worthy, in my opinion.
True. Very, very
not yet,
true.
anyways. But I digress on that.
Let's take a look here.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm going through some of my normal sites, and I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, the releases were really kind of the big piece of news for the week.
Yeah, they definitely were.
Other than that, fairly quiet.
Yeah.
So
I'm even
scrolling
through right now and trying to see if there's really anything.
I was even scrolling through our friends over at indiepw.com.
Yeah.
A little cheap plug for you guys. Actually, indieprowrestling.com if you want to be exact. Other than that, I guess there was I almost feel kind of ashamed to say this here, Karl, because I know you're a fan of this company, but didn't that Impact show happen on Sunday? Like I think they had a pay-per-view, and I have no idea what happened. I have no idea.
No, I don't think it was this Sunday.
Is it? I thought it was.
I think it's coming up still.
Is it still coming up?
Yeah, because the Rebellion or something. And that's the one where Rich Swann is taking on Kenny Omega.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wait, Kenny Omega, we're coming to you later in this episode. You watch it. We're coming for you, brother. We're coming for you. But I digress on that topic here, Karl, because we are going to get to it. But let us first get to our match of the week. All right, Karl, for match of the week, this was a tough one for me because, as I stated earlier, at least I remember correctly if I did, that coming out of WrestleMania, I haven't watched a whole ton of professional wrestling.
Yes.
So, having said that, for myself, for match of the week, it is actually, I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone here on this one here, Karl, because I'm giving a preview for upcoming match for Turnbuckle Rewind, as well as it being my match of the week. And we are talking about WrestleMania 6, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase versus Jake the Snake Roberts for that $1 Million title. Dude, I freaking loved this match.
Oh, God, it was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's my pick.
Right.
That's my pick.
Before I get to my pick,
yeah,
give me your thoughts, Joe.
I don't watch SmackDown, so I have zero thoughts. I'm sure I'm sure he probably will do well, and I'm sure that he is somebody that would probably just given how he's gone about things in his wrestling career, that he did it, but then was probably very critical of himself and probably picked up any mistakes that he made and was probably even open to criticizing himself if need be. That would be kind of my assessment there.
Awesome.
Given that he's done some Rip Roberts training, that he would probably be very self-critical of himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joining the broadcast booth. Cool. Sounds good. I'm okay with that. Definitely. I look forward to seeing what he can bring.
Yeah, he's got a good voice. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My match of the week, we're going back to Madison Square Garden, November 1975. A historic and nostalgic match between two huge behemoths in the professional wrestling world. Ernie Ladd versus Haystacks Calhoun.
Wow, you're pulling
in
up.
a right?
Wow.
I mean, the
Deep
match
into the
itself,
vaults.
you're looking, was only about 6 to 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But like, wow. I freaking love Haystacks Calhoun. For being a big guy. He was like the originator of the big guy that can do little guy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just fantastic. I loved watching anything Haystacks. And I just kind of came across this one on YouTube, and I'm like, hey, yeah, let me check this out, because Ernie Ladd was a huge dude.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's what I watched. You can go to YouTube and you can actually just type in Ernie Ladd versus Haystacks Calhoun, and you should be able to find it there. It was from November 1975 MSG. So that's my pick. I love being able to watch it again.
Absolutely, man. Some good, definitely a great pick. And like I said, for me, our rewind match coming for this week was my favorite this week. Going back and watching that, I mean, just so beautifully done. The way it was set up, that Jake's promo before the match was still like one of my favorite of all time. I mean, just it checks. When I still watch that promo, like I don't know how many times I've watched it, I still get like literal goosebumps. It really is something. If you have not watched that match, make sure you watch the promo first and then watch the actual match. Just watch the whole show. And it did happen in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, just to boot.
That's right.
So, all right. So before we get to our Showstopper segment, because I'm coming in hot on this one, I want to take another brief break here, Karl, and hear from our friends over at OVW, because we got a whopper of a Showstopper segment this week.
Hi, my name is Barry Radcliffe. You might recognize me from such films as The Longest Ride or Ted 2. Now, as a successful actor, I have 2 planes, a supermodel wife, countless exotic cars, and a ton of cash. You might think it couldn't get any better than this, but you'd be wrong. For only $4.99, you could get OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. That's OVWWrestlingNetwork.com for only $4.99. Now, will your life be as good as this? No. Will it be better? Yes, and I guarantee that. That's not valid anywhere. OVWWrestlingNetwork.com is only $4.99. Tomorrow's yesterday is today. Prices so low, they're insane. Want more bang for your buck? Well, so do I at OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. It's only $4.99 a month. In between excitement, me too. OVWWrestlingNetwork.com is only $4.99 a month. You get that incredible value. She cost me $17 million and I loved it. Want a real value? OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. It's only $4.99. That's a price so low. Well, it's insane.
All right, so a little word from our friends over at OVW. We haven't played that promo in quite a while, and I still love it. I actually miss it. So
me too.
always great. I mean, our friends over at OVW, we've made our friend Don Lewis a fan of that, and you should be too, because they're actually doing some fantastic work there. It really it feels like, I'll just say it. I'm not going to mince words on it, Karl. It's just no bullshit wrestling. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, our friend Al Snow is over there. We got a friend Michael who's over there as well. Rod Hicks. Rod does stuff with OVW and with Al Snow as well. Just a ton of fantastic stuff and fantastic people even over there that really have a knowledge for the business and really want to take it to new heights and actually see it grow. For those that might not know, OVW was actually a training territory for the WWE for a very, very long time. Al Snow came in, bought the company, and is really trying to rebuild the company, has created the Al Snow Wrestling Academy, which is the very first ever and only accredited wrestling school in North America.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Props
good
up,
stuff with
deal.
OVW.
That's a big deal. And when it comes to wrestling training, well, not necessarily a segue there, but I am kind of hinting at something here, Karl. Let us get to our Showstopper segment. All right, Karl, for our Showstopper segment this week, we have a bit of a doozy here. And I do have to thank our very good friend who provides our intro for every episode of Turnbuckle Talk for this, Mr. Richard Bronson Vickery. First turned me on to this. So there is audio of this. I'm going to play the audio clip, and we're going to go from there. Now, I do promise that I'm not going to go full Jim Cornette on this guy in this situation, but we might get close. So
I just played the clip.
Let's start with the audio, and then we will go from there.
In a way, basic professional wrestling training doesn't really mean anything. I mean, what is chain wrestling? What is psychology? What is the proper way to wrestle? No one really knows. In my mind, and this is probably because I'm not really a fan of wrestling anymore, I just think there is entertaining matches and not entertaining matches. I don't think that if you do a perfect 4-step match, that means you're a good wrestler. I think that if I watch your stuff and I'm entertained, if I can show that match to my friend or my dad or my mom, and they can laugh or they can say, hey, that was fun to watch, that's what I think a good match is. And that's kind of why I am sort of not a wrestler's wrestler, but I'm more of like a special interest wrestler. But being that way has kind of allowed me to keep a job, luckily.
All right, so a few things with this here, Karl. I will say that the second half, or maybe second, like the last 3 quarters of what he was saying there, I can kind of wrap my head around. At the end, how he says, well, doing this has allowed me to keep a job, tells me that he doesn't really necessarily take the professional wrestling business seriously. I mean, he sees it as a job. He doesn't see it as something he's truly passionate about. He even says that he doesn't really like wrestling anymore. But the beginning part, Karl, saying that basic professional training doesn't matter and that people don't know like what good training is. Dude, I mean, we had just talked about OVW. Rip Rogers, who Mr. Richard Bronson Vickery is well versed in, your Ben Hameen's, your all those guys, him saying that basically that the basic professional wrestling training doesn't matter, that had me hot, Karl. About as hot as a laid-back French Canadian can get. As somebody who really respects those who put all that they can into the professional wrestling trade, just that statement got me really hot and bothered here, Karl. I was already kind of on the fence about Kenny Omega. This honestly turned me off as a fan of his. I'll just say it.
Okay, so
talk me off the ledge if you can, or if you maybe feel the same way.
These listeners and viewers of this vidcast that we have done for 215 episodes, okay, they know that sometimes I get hot and I fly off the handle and I really speak my mind.
Yep.
Mighty Joe Morin, it is time for you to freaking let loose. I want to hear this. Please go off. Go off on this. Don't hold back. Go. Well, the floor is yours right now. Go off on it.
But I don't know if I can do it without kind of breaking one of our cardinal rules of swearing.
Don't say the F word. Use any other word. Don't use the F word.
I don't know.
Go.
I don't know if I really can without using it, because, like I said, just saying that the training aspect of professional wrestling doesn't matter. Like it spits in the face of everybody who's put all they can. Like our friend Dusty Gold, or Greg. There's a guy who trains his effing ass off all the time. You see him on social media. He puts in the time and the training and the effort. For a guy of Kenny's stature to say that it doesn't matter, like it's like I said, that's about as fired up as a laid-back Canadian like myself can kind of get. I mean, I try and kind of stay on an even keel here, and I'm trying to be as nice as I can on this. Like I said, I don't want to go full Jim Cornette on Kenny on this, okay? Because I have liked some of the stuff that he did over New Japan, like matches with like Okada and Naito. Those were fantastic matches. I can't take that away from him, Karl. But shitting on the training aspect of professional wrestling, that does not sit well with me. That's the nicest way I can kind of put it. I'm trying not to lose my cool, Karl. I'm trying hard, buddy. I'm trying.
I'm going to let my German out. Okay?
Have at it,
Kenny
please.
Omega. Okay, Kenny Omega, you tell me, okay? What the frick did you do? When you got into this business, what did you do? You trained. When you go and do any job, you go and be a frickin' garbage collector? What are you doing? You have to train to do that job. It doesn't matter what needs to be done.
It does not matter.
It doesn't matter what your name is. I don't care if your name is Kenny Omega. I don't care how good of a professional wrestler you are. I don't care how many of your matches that I actually love and enjoy. I don't care how much I enjoy watching you. You spit in the face of everybody who decides to go and get trained so that they don't hurt somebody, so that they don't injure themselves, and you're now saying that this is bullshit, that you don't need that basic professional wrestling training isn't needed. The basics are everything when it comes to professional wrestling. You don't know how to do a collar and elbow tie-up? That's the basics. You don't know how to do a whip into the ropes? That's the basics. You don't know how to run the ropes? That's the basics. You don't know how to do a headlock? That's the basics. An arm bar? Basic. You need to know the basics to be able to professionally wrestle. There's my German coming out, okay?
Now, before
I love Kenny Omega. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I do. I have always been a fan of Kenny Omega. I really do. I like watching his matches. But to hear him say something like that, it blows my freaking mind. Because, dude, I can guarantee you that Kenny Omega was trained the basics. Mm-hmm. My Jake the Snake Roberts was totally not even anywhere to be seen in that rant.
He went like Ultimate Warrior.
Sorry. I apologize to anybody if your eardrums blew because of my rant. I'm sorry. I really am. But
that was genuine passion there, folks. Now, just to cut in briefly, I'll let you continue. But I do want to make point because our friend John Lewis is saying that he does Kenny being a great heel and getting people to talk. normally I would agree with you, but this was recorded completely out of character.
It was a shoot interview.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it was shot somewhere, I think, at a gym. This was just I honestly don't even know Kenny's real name. That was just the actual individual. This wasn't a wrestling character. This was just him just talking. So normally I would agree with you, Don, but this was done out of character, which almost makes it even worse, Karl. I know, it does make it worse because, like you had said, to shit on everybody that's trained their ass off in that ring to make sure, that they don't hurt people, so that we don't end up with a whole bunch of I almost did it. Karl almost did it with a bunch of freaking Nia Jaxes out there who don't train properly, And then look, I mean that guy. There's that viral video of the guy getting up onto the middle turnbuckle and jumping down. Now, mind you, the ring was shit, but the guy jumped down 2 feet and basically snapped both of his legs. Now, mind you, he looked like he was extremely out of shape, and like I said, the ring itself looked like it was made by somebody who was obviously not qualified, but still somebody who would have had proper training wouldn't have stepped in that ring to begin with.
Right.
See, now I'm getting fired up about this because I'm somebody that I've said it before. I really look at the real technical aspects of professional wrestling, and to see somebody shit on that aspect of it really, really rubs me the wrong way. Really does. And I'll let you talk about Matthew's comment, but Kenny RBV's got a good one too.
Yeah, he definitely does. Matthew saying here, training is super essential for professional wrestling. Like you said, Karl, you need to learn to execute each move safely for everyone's health. You don't want injuries or anything career-ending, which is very true. You really don't, and that's a huge proponent of professional wrestling training. I'm going to pull up Rick's here. You talk, and you read Rick's there.
Mr. RBV saying, F you, Kenny Omega. Saying you don't need the 4 steps is crazy. Shine, heat, come back, and finish. It's like saying you don't need eggs and flour to make a cake. Yes to all that. I agree with you 100%. Like I said, not only in professional, there's certainly in any profession that you're going to get into, there are basics that you need to learn. Otherwise, you have no clue of what you are doing. It's like if I was say to go into like the construction realm. I'm spitballing here. If a plumber were to say go to a place like where I do my day job, it's like a do-it-yourself place. So it's like somebody who's a plumber went to go work in like a lumber department. I mean, like somebody who's like specific to that and were to go to that, you have no clue of what you're doing. You need to learn the basic before you can call yourself even somewhat knowledgeable in the field. To forego the very basics of training in anything is just stupid. It's stupid and it's foolish. And in this particular case in wrestling, it puts people at risk.
Welcome to the team, and thank you for joining us here with your new McDonald's on the I-54. Please make your way to the cash register. We understand that you have had absolutely no training, but we are expecting you to be able to take the orders of the 1,000 people that are standing outside for this grand opening. Thank you. You're going to throw me at the cash register? Right. I've had no basic training on the cash register with 1,000 people standing outside to come in and get frickin' McDonald's?
Yeah.
Like, how asinine does that sound?
Right. Extremely. You know what? A little shout over to RBV and the boys over there at the Homie Media Group who are still in a battle with Podbean. I feel bad for those guys. They're putting out a ton of content there, and it's not getting to as many people as it should be. But specifically to Mr. Bin Hameen, I would literally pay the $5 for him to go slap Kinney across the face.
Right.
I would just to put in his place. Say you. Ooh, that's. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could really go off the deep end on this, and I did to a certain extent. You did a better job than me, Karl, because, I mean, we're getting your perspective as somebody who's actually been in the ring, and you know the real dangers that are possible here, and just to see somebody disrespect it like that, it's going to rub me the wrong way for a while. To the point, I know he's set up to have this killer match with Rich Swann and Impact for that title or whatever that deal is there. Like, I don't even care to watch it now. Like, nothing against Rich Swann. I have a ton of respect for that guy, and I still do with Kenny to a certain extent. But this, it's really damaged my opinion of his. Damn you, Kenny. I love the stuff that you did. The cleaner character in New Japan was awesome. You had killer matches with Okada and Naito and all those guys there. And then you had to open your mouth and shit on the training aspect of wrestling. How dare you, sir? And again, that's
okay, Greta,
I'm trying to be nice and try not to lose it, because otherwise I would have to insert a lot of bleeps in this episode.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
I'm at a loss for words, Karl. I'm at a loss for words.
I'm not at a loss for words. Thank you very much. Let me tell you about our social media platforms. We're found on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We can be found at TB Talk Pod on those 3 platforms. Normally, we're posting a lot more of our stuff over on our Facebook page, so make sure you go and check out our page over at TB Talk Pod.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I got to go a little bit more on it, because I still have a little bit more in the tank with this.
Okay.
It would be like me. Dude, I don't know how many times I've gotten approached from people who want to get involved in podcasting. All right. And people tell me, it's like, well, you know, how do you go about this? Like, they start asking me all this stuff. I'm like, well, you need to actually sit down. You need to actually kind of learn this kind of stuff. Oh, you know, I want to start making completely like the wrong approach. It would be like somebody just walking up to Kenny and just like wanting to like wrestle him. You have to learn first. You can't just dive in and just be like, just expect it to just all kind of happen. Like I said, same thing for like the podcasting world. You can't just hop in without learning some shit. You know, you got to learn some stuff. You know, Karl and I spent some we didn't just hop into this. You know, we spent some time learning. We made some mistakes. We had some awkward, we had some weird stuff. You know, we had to learn the ropes before we got to where we are now. 215 episodes deep into this show, 16 episodes deep into another show, all the time spent doing our radio stuff. You know, we had to start somewhere, and we had to actually learn.
Tell me, how hypocritical would it be if somebody were to walk up to Kenny Omega and say, hey, let's go have a match on AEW Dynamite, and him look at them and go, okay, so show me what you can do.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're shit because they haven't trained, and him going, where the hell did you train? Oh, wait.
But you said you didn't need to.
Right? You don't need to. You don't need that basics.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool, man. Yeah, we let loose a little bit there. It actually felt pretty good. But, and once again, like I said, I like a lot of stuff that Kenny has done. But this just rubs us both the wrong way, and I know it does some other people as well. I'll do my best to try to ignore that that's happened, but Kenny, you got to prove yourself again to me, brother, before I really kind of, start watching your matches again. So do well against Rich Swann. I'm kind of hoping that he beats your ass now, but you know, I may still watch it and see how it kind of goes. That's where I'm going to go for the time being. For the time being.
All right.
All right, man. Well, I guess that about wraps it up here for this week. Just again, you know, we usually on our other show we're always thanking the Love Wrestling platform over there, which of course we do. But you know, we haven't really done that over in this side of things. I want to again say thank you very much to everybody over at the Hitting the Marks podcast network, to our friends Richard Bronson Vicker and Michael Jericho for even bringing us onto this platform when they didn't have to. They took a risk on 2 Canadians, and we're always very grateful for that, guys, and always grateful when you're able to come to the program with us as well and to be in the chat and all that kind of stuff. I can never I'll always be grateful. You know, even if this were to end like today, I would be grateful for the time spent. Absolutely fantastic. I love those guys over there. Everybody.
Definitely. for you guys. Take a look at this visual right here. You can see down in the bottom right-hand corner is the HTM logo. We do want to give a special thanks as well to IndiePW.com as well as thechairshot.com. Both of those platforms do put out our content for you as well. And all of this video podcasting would not be possible if it were not for our friends over at StreamYard. Check out StreamYard.com. It is an amazing platform to be able to share streaming yourself to the world. So go and check them out as well over at StreamYard. Thank you so much to StreamYard. Thank you, Chairshot.com. Thank you, IndieProWrestling.com. Thank you, HTM Podcast Network. And thank you to Phoenix at FNXFit.com for being an amazing sponsor of us as well.
Absolutely, Karl. That is a great way to wrap up the episode there this week. We'll see you guys on the next one.
It's me. It's an honor to be the V. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all our other shows. We have weekly content, especially lit up by the flagship show. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.